All right, good evening. We're going to call to order the regular meeting of the New Canaan Board of Education this Monday, May 20th of 2024. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Next, we'll review and approve the agenda for May 20th, 2024. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Erica, Brendan second, all in favor? Aye. And then approval of the minutes for May 6th. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes for May 6th? Brendan second, Wex, all in favor? Thank you. And then comments from the public. To ensure the comments' right to be heard, the board set aside time during the meeting for public comments. 2 minutes will be allotted to each speaker and a max of 15 to each subject. Would anybody like to approach the board? All right. Seeing as there's none, we'll move on to reports and recognition. And the first up is the South PTC Playground Improvement with Sarah Culbertson and Amanda Reed. Please.
Yes. And as they are taking the podium, the board will see that we also have an action item below, which is a motion to approve the donation that Sarah and Amanda will be speaking about this evening. This is an exciting project that I know they've been working on for quite some time, and we're thrilled to see it coming together. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us. Thank you. Speaking to this? Okay. So yeah, thank you. We're so happy to be here. We know the school year is winding down, but believe it or not, I think we've been working on this for about 2 years. So my name is Sarah Culbertson. I'm finishing my second year as the South PTC president. It's my partner, Amanda Reed. And it just dawned on me, I'm also finishing my time as a South parent, period. So it's been 9 consecutive years. And this is really fun. Our kids are like really excited that we're here finally to talk about the swings. So we'll flip through. The purpose today is to give you a little bit of a background and to show you the lay of the land and explain a little bit of the constraints that we were working with and the goals that we set out to achieve. And then we'll show you the proposal and what we think is going to really kind of maximize what we can do for the kids. Yeah, thank you. So like I said, 2 years ago, my previous partner, Julie Deasy, and I called both Game Time and LSI, 2 playground equipment companies who have worked at South School, a lot of the neighboring schools, and certainly in the town of New Canaan for our big playgrounds. And we set out to just walk the land and figure out how we could really enhance the playgrounds. We looked at the kindergarten playground that's up off of Farm Road. We went down to what we call the lower playground, which is off Gower. And we even looked at land that hadn't yet been excavated, trying to figure out what could we add, how could we enhance this. Last year, we made a decision to install something called Global Motion. And for those of you who were here, we talked about that towards the middle of the year. It's a large spinning globe that kids can climb on the top of, inside, outside, and it can hold about 20 kids. So it was a big investment, but it also achieved a lot. And we decided that the swings were complicated, and we were going to punt and then give that to us to solve. So what's complicated for us with the swings is we were trying to figure out how can we help more kids swing. We currently have 6. We looked toward the blacktop. We looked toward other places where we hadn't actually developed, and we realized that the space where we currently have them is really the best space. You need 32 feet of depth to swing, so you can't be near the hill, you can't be near a lot of structures, and so that really was the best spot. And we went to east, we went to west, we went to nearly all the Darien elementary schools just to see what kind of structures they had in place and how could we make a smart investment and just make it the best we could in the amount of usable land. So it was a fun thing, but it did involve a lot of people. We had to have Tiger Man's help, John Howe's help, who's terrific, because we were working between wetlands, sidewalks, and some substantial trees. So that was a little bit of where we were, and it's why we sort of created an idea and we waited, and we wanted to make sure it was the right thing to do. So Amanda's going to take you through, for those of you not as familiar with what South looks like, and we'll come back to where we landed.
All right, so this is our current swing structure. We have 3 bays, 6 swings. 1 is ADA compliant, and that swing, unfortunately, the ADA compliant swing has been vandalized. So our current students with special needs are not able to use it at this time. We don't know exactly when the structure was put in. We know it's at least 16 years old. We think it's likely a little older than that. It still functions. It's starting to show its age and it's rusting in places. The playground companies that we've engaged to look at the space and help us figure out what would work best there really don't want to touch it. It's not their structure. They're not comfortable adding on to it. They're not even comfortable adding a new swing to it. It's just, it's old and it's not their equipment. So we're not able to do anything with the current structure. It's also a tripod. So as you can see on the sides, that eats up 4 feet of space. And the new structures don't have that tripod. And so that 8 feet that is taken up there is, we need it for a new structure because, as Sarah said, the land back there is tricky. So that brings us to the land. So the enclosure there, which is called the safety zone, it backs up to wetlands. And when it rains, the enclosure is totally saturated. And all the rain that we had this spring has caused those railroad ties along the perimeter to kind of move and crack, and we have rivers of water coming through those cracks and bringing the mulch along with it and kind of making a mess back there. So we really want to address the drainage there and add some drains and pipes and kind of funnel that water out to the wetlands in the back. We also need a bigger safety zone for the structure that we're proposing, and we did have John Howe out to measure the land. And like I said, it's tricky, but he was able to give us 18 feet in length so that we could add more. In order to do that, we do have to take down a tree that is dead, so that tree should come down anyway. And then the sidewalk in front of the structure will also have to come out. And we thought that sidewalk was going to be replaced last summer. We're glad it wasn't now, but it's cracked, and with all the tree roots growing underneath it, it's it's bumpy. So it's not great for our kids in wheelchairs to get down to that area.
So this is the land survey. You can see where our current swings are. It's in a clearing of 50 feet long by 30 feet deep in that black rectangle. The dotted line around the back, those are the wetlands, and then what would be at the top of the page, that's the Gower Road Hill. And so we worked with Tiger and with John Howe to say, it's clear what we needed to do. Can we do it? Can we twist the safety space, and can we stretch it? And how far can we stretch it? That's really the question. And so, as Amanda said, John was able to help us feel that a 68-foot length was very achievable. You go a little to the left, you start to go downhill. You go a little to the right, you start to go into a hill. Retaining walls are expensive. And in that hill, to the common passerby, it looks like a lot of green grass, which I was very excited about at the beginning. We thought we had a lot of space to play with. But the reality is the roots. The root system is very deep there. And to create a safety zone, you have to dig down 2 feet. So we can't go that close. So at the end, what we got with the town's assistance is 68 feet long. We went back to the playground company and said, here's what we have. How can you help us put something in that's going to make it the best we can do? And the next page is a rendering of what we could come up with. We certainly didn't want to go down swings, and so we thought the best thing to do is replace the 6 swings, the 3 bays, with new structures. And as you can see, there is no tripod. This is what all the current swings look like. This is what's going to go in up at Waveney. This is in at Darien. And so it's great, and it does let us work with some extra room. The detached tire swing was the best thing we could figure out to do because it's a 14-foot long structure, but in that space you can get 5 kids. The regular bays are 12 feet for 2 kids. We felt like this is the best concept that we could come up with at the end of it. We actually even tried to attach it together. We went back to them and were like, why do we need 6 feet of dead space in the middle? Can you connect them? They can't connect them, or he can for a very high price tag. It's a customized request. So even though you see it on their website and in their booklet, it really was cost prohibitive to attach either a tire swing or a saucer that could swing, which could also hold more children than a single belt swing. So we pushed. And at the end, though, we're really excited about this. Our special education team is thrilled to get a new chair with the proper, belts working. They think the kids that they take care of will use that much more than they would a saucer. We looked into saucers that are ADA compliant, but the reality is they're not that safe, and our team didn't feel that it was a safe enough thing to put there. The tire swing is fun. The kids are excited. When you talk to them about it, they're thrilled. And when we went and learned more about what's going to go in up at Waveney, it turns out this is the same company that's going to do the new fitness zone up at Waveney and the future playground. And they were working through the diagrams and the designs, and they're not putting a tire swing up there. They're going to put a zip line. We very much wanted a zip line at South. We could not find the space to do it, but it helped to work with the same group and realize we're not doing any kind of duplication because we're a mile apart. So, it would be crazy to spend $30,000 at South School and put something in that is going to be a mile away in like a matter of months, years. But this is what we have. And the last page just shows you what it costs. So, at this point, Amanda and I, we would be thrilled to make this donation on behalf of the South School PTC for $27,000. This is going to cover the price of the equipment and the installation of this equipment. And again, we feel like we spent time, we took our time. We are pleased with this as an outcome. And it's expensive, and we didn't want to roll from a Global Motion last year, which was a $51,000 investment, to a swing investment. We waited, and this year we waited to see what we brought in from fundraising, and we wanted to make sure we were addressing needs inside the classroom before we went ahead and just worked on the playground again. We didn't want it to be back-to-back ideas. So we've been really lucky this year to be able to help in a variety of ways inside of the school. For all the specialist teachers, for every grade rep, we gave grants, and they've been able to kind of add to the curriculum in ways that they had not prior. So at the end of the year, we feel like we're comfortable with this amount of money. We feel like it's a responsible way to spend it. And we're really hoping that it lasts these kids, 20 more years of playing. And I don't think there will be another group that can come in and ask John and Tiger to try to maximize this again in the future. I feel like this has been as pushed as we possibly can do it. So in terms of next steps, we have the town's assistance. They strongly recommended we use Hussey Excavation to prepare the land. They are the ones doing Waveney, and they are experts, and they're just honest people. And so we think they're going to help us do the grading. They met with John Howe last week, and they're still working through what the estimate of that land prep will be. But the town's excited to be able to fix the drainage issues that have been there for forever, because it never actually went in with any piping plan to begin with. So everyone's kind of engaged and involved, and at this point there's some stuff to figure out, but if we get the go-ahead, we think that this will be ready in August, which would be terrific, timed with everything going on at Saks to go fix the basketball court. We can get it done before school starts. It would be really thrilling. So that's where we are. Yep.
That's great. Thank you so much. You guys have any questions? No, that's awesome. Obviously, a lot of work went into this, and it's something that I know the kids will love, and it's long overdue. And thank you very much for all the work you guys put in. I think we could just move on to accepting the donation.
Yeah, let's do
it. Yeah. So I'd like to move to approve a donation of $27,380 from the Saks South PTC for playground improvements. Can I get a motion? Erica, second. Brendan, all in favor? Unanimous. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. And Matt, thank you for being here tonight and helping us do this. Many trips down the hill with measuring tapes. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you both.
All right, next up, mastery-based diploma with Mr. Evan Remley.
No, I think I got it. Okay. So as Evan comes to the podium, just a very brief introduction. He doesn't need any, but Evan is the department chair of our English department, and a number of years ago, the state put a requirement in that students prior to graduation must receive one mastery-based learning credit. And Evan jumped right into action, stepped forward and said, I have a great idea, which he did, and sort of developed it into the program that we'll be learning about tonight. Evan, welcome.
Thanks. Thanks for the thoughtful intro. I appreciate it. So yes, it was it was November 2021 that I first presented this concept to the board. So I'm going to kind of run through an old presentation just to kind of update you where we were, and then kind of where we are, and then hopefully where we want to go, and then can do questions at the end. Okay, so let's see what the Perfect. So why mastery-based diploma assessment? Theoretically, it's something that, it's got a couple different names, which we'll kind of talk about, I think, later. Capstone projects, mastery-based diploma, and then we've kind of come to call it a graduation portfolio here. But the idea is it focuses on a theory of knowledge, and also focuses, I would say, multiple ways across the curriculum to demonstrate learning and growth. And it kind of got a big press from the state. This is when they pushed out, it was about 10, 12 years ago that they kind of offered this guidance. But it's also been offered as an instructional model by a couple other different groups, including NEASC, which I'll get to at the end. So just one more thought on that. This is kind of from the original presentation. So breadth of training predicts breadth of transfer. The more context in which something is learned, the more the learner creates abstract models, and the less they rely on any particular example. Learners become better at applying their knowledge to a situation they've never seen before, which is the essence of creativity. This is from this book, Range. It's actually a great little book, kind of about how you learn and how, the essence of all learning is a novel context. All right. So this was the original framework. It actually came from work about 10 years ago, but these were the four sort of standards we had. So we had thoughtful learner, active citizen, effective communicator, mindful collaborator, resilient and discerning problem solver, innovative, imaginative designer. So the idea was, what were ways students would demonstrate these in their kind of like experiences at NCHS? And obviously, this is what sort of happens in a high school, is you have different departments, they almost become like different countries, right? You get in these silos and students are having these experiences. And a lot of times, students aren't really given a chance, and teachers as well, to sort of back up and see how everything is connected. So here's an idea of, like, well, there's all these experiences and they probably demonstrate this competencies in these attributes. So this is what the original standards look like. Demonstrates empathy and learning for continuous growth and development and awareness of the impact one's actions might have. And I pulled some things from recent events around the high school, some students performing at the CMEA All-State. Thoughtful learner, active citizen. So here's another shared experiences. Students have to reflect on their writing growth throughout the year. Effective communicator and mindful collaborator, shares information, ideas, points of view, and/or feelings in a clear, precise, and thoughtful manner appropriate for audience and purpose. Listens to others' perspectives to consider courses of action to accomplish a shared goal and broaden their understanding. There's some students in the NCTV broadcast. And then the Courant. Resilient, discerning problem solver. Investigates and observes a question or explanation or challenge by developing an informed, flexible plan of action to construct solutions or offer conclusions. I'm going a little fast because you'll see in a moment, but happy to answer questions on these as we go in. And then resilient and discerning problem solver. Investigates and observes a question or explanation or challenge by developing an informed, flexible plan of action to construct solutions or offer conclusions. And you'll see in this slide, and it was in a couple of the other ones, the existing language. So these are the standards on the left. And on the right, generally with students, like with a rubric for teachers, you kind of want to put that into like an action sentence. So, through observation, independently develops and investigates a question, explanation, or challenge by developing informed. So it's kind of a lot of it's like verb heavy. But in this particular one, NGSS uses like observations like one of their key skills they kind of emphasize. So some of the language that got into the rubric we're pulling from different standards from curricular strands, so state core, NGSS, et cetera. And then, so this is the fourth one, innovative and imaginative designer. Tests and refines ideas, experimenting with techniques and tools to create. I thought this is the lobby today, so I thought this was pretty good example of design. So the portfolio as currently constructed, students selected 3 artifacts. So the goal was not to assign new coursework, although there was one new piece that they had to do, and that's their summative reflection. So the idea was that they would identify 3 artifacts from their coursework at NCHS, preferably from different courses, and from different times and sort of speak to their learning and growth. And that was how we were measuring their competencies in these standards, or one of the ways, I should say. And these are some of the possible artifacts. And they were coming from assured experiences, but a lot of them were also coming from electives in art and CTE, in VPA. So it was actually kind of neat watching, or reading, I should say, what students were selecting and how they were going about it. So summative reflection, I just spoke to that. And these were the prompts. I won't read them here, but the idea is they're pretty general, and the hope was just sort of like give students a little bit of a way to approach the question and then write a reflection. The reflections were about 2 to 2.5 pages in general length, where they kind of identified, like, here are examples where I feel like I've demonstrated competency in this standard. So we posted over the years, this is our second year doing with the students, and we kind of refined the prompts a little bit and tried to lead them or help them out a little bit, sort of a little bit of a learning curve in the first year. And then also from the first year, we had some really nice ones. So what we did was we took those, we annotated them, and kind of put them up as models for students that have access to as they kind of frame their response. You don't need to read that, but you get the general idea. So, quick summary. How's it gone? You think, Bill? No. I think it's gone pretty well. There's definitely been some bumps. I mean, trying to get, I guess to put it this way, I've been a classroom teacher a long time. You can assign a piece of work and you'll have 25 kids in your class. And if you get 25 of those assignments in the next day, usually you think you've miscounted. You're like, they all turned it in. It's usually, a little, there's always something that happened, right? So when you assign a portfolio to 315 to 330 seniors, running it down is a little bit of a logistic challenge, but we've done it. So our pass rate, actually this year we had 100% pass rate, and last year we had, I think it was only 2 students that didn't pass, but they weren't slated to graduate anyways. So we've been able to get to a really good place where they're all committing to doing the work and passing the portfolio. It's also been really meaningful work for the faculty because we spend time every February kind of looking at it as an interdisciplinary team. So one of the nice things about that is you get to see sort of which experiences are the most impactful. What are students looking at? Bless you. What are students looking at in terms of like, hey, this was a really meaningful experience. I think I learned a lot from this. And that sometimes comes from places you wouldn't expect. And then the other piece is from a support perspective, the Writing Center has been really helpful. So when students have struggled or just wanted some feedback, they have access to the Writing Center all day. So where do we go now? Things have changed. The state put that guidance out, I want to say like 10, 12 years ago. But now what's happened is NEASC has kind of taken some of this language, and you probably remember some of you guys at the Portrait of the Graduate meeting, well, here we are. So NEASC has really put out guidance that they want here's the standard. A portrait of a graduate is defined by measurable criteria, and learners receive feedback on their progress towards proficiency. So what we were able to do is, because we had this system in place in our executive report, cite this as, look, I think we were exceeding standard in this, and that we actually have measurable criteria. They are receiving feedback, and it is kind of clearly defined and supported throughout their time. So the goal now, kind of the work before me and those unfortunate enough to want to help me, is we want to take the existing language from the vision of a graduate, the portrait of a graduate, which was work done this fall, and I was able to grab this, I think, what are we calling this? Is it a masthead? I don't know. Well, anyways, I was able to grab this graphic off of the Board of Ed website, and the idea is to then bring the language over, to mirror this. I haven't done that work yet, and the goal is to do it over the summer. All right, I'll stop there. Any questions?
Thank you for the overview and update. Can you talk a little bit about how this was introduced to students and how much time they knew that before they were working on it, that they would be working on it? And to what extent was it throughout their senior year or a small portion of it? Or how was this presented to students overall?
So, I mean, going back, it was kind of a weird time because we were kind of coming out of like COVID. So we communicated, I think we sent letters home to families the junior year. So first year, we did a road show. I went and visited every senior class and explained, kind of did a very similar spiel. And then last year, since we kind of had a little more traction and had a vision of how it was going to go, because it was really the first year we were sort of like kind of curious ourselves how this is going to go. So last year, I think it was kind of more systemic. Students knew about it. A lot of students had opportunities towards the end of junior year, especially if they were like in APs and they were kind of like finishing up coursework to continue this. And actually, we opened up the portal and kids were submitting at end of junior year too. We didn't get around to scoring them for a while, so that was that's a little bit of a lag because I mean, logistically, it's tough. We kind of wanted to score them all as a group. We feel like there's a lot of value there, and a lot of times students were submitting sometimes in like September, so like we weren't scoring them until February. But that being said, a lot of times if they didn't pass, it was a quick turnaround. They had to do some quick fixes, and they were able to do so.
So on the scoring, what did you identify if there were any sort of commonalities of the work that you needed to go back with a student and say, there need to be changes?
I mean, I think a lot of times, some of it's just silly procedural things. Like, so the way they were sharing artifacts is they just had links to work, right? So if you had you had videos and performances and things like that, and a lot of times the links weren't active. So this is what I mean. Like the logistics were actually kind of overwhelming at times, and just you're trying to communicate with students. But so that was one of those little things. And then sometimes just students weren't specific enough, didn't address the prompt in a clear way. So one of the things we figured out too, which I hesitate to share here, but we were using the basically I'm not sure which email domain is, like the basically the school one. Weren't getting a lot of feedback. I started switching to just directly telling them, and then it was like instant. They started, I think when they saw my name, they're like, oh, I better deal with this. I think to some extent, they just see email from the school as spam. So, I mean, so that was like a little bit. Makes me feel good. Sorry, Bill, I hate to say it. This was the insight I got when students would open up their inbox and I'd see like 700 unread messages. And I was like, I'm having a panic attack just looking at your inbox right now. But so like little things like that. So like the feedback loop, I think, is one of the trickier things we're trying to figure out. But most of the time it was more like just attention to detail or small procedural things like links and things like that.
Great, thank you.
Have we thought about maybe as we transition to the portrait of the graduate and the words that we have there, just when kids start at the high school as freshmen, sophomore each year, just sort of reinforcing those topics so that when they get to senior year, they understand what they are, they understand their experiences at NCHS and how they've sort of built.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and I've gotten, that's kind of a hope, is to do that, and maybe even like kind of embed some time like each year, and we have some vehicles in the schedule to do that, but it was we were in a little bit of a holding pattern because when this work came up, the portrait of the graduate, and then the state was sort of changing their guidance, I was hesitant to make any big system changes because I was sort of waiting to be like, all right, well, what are we going to do with this thing? But I think that's a great idea.
Great, thanks.
Any other questions? Comments?
I have one. Evan, there are a couple of things that in this program that you've put together with your colleagues that I think really do set it apart. I think one of the things that is quite impressive is how you organize the scoring. Can you go into a little more detail and how you, to involve the faculty in something of this magnitude can be powerful? So just give us a few more details around how you do that, what it looks like, how people are all involved.
So yeah, I mean, basically we divvy up the scoring. So I do it alphabetically just because it's easy. But like break up. We have in this very space we have 110, 115 teachers, and I'll give them scoring assignments, and then what we do is we all have access to the shared drive where the documents are stored, and then we'll start with a calibration. So we actually usually I like to do 3 just because it helps kind of ferret out what you're trying to do, and then you read one and then you kind of discuss like, look, does this make standard or not? And I usually try and have at least one that isn't goal for various reasons, but that's sort of like the starting point. You kind of get calibrated, and then once that's done, we kind of get the teachers roll up their sleeves. Each teacher's reading, maybe 4 or 5, so it's not crazy, but then they kind of get a chance to sort of share. I circle around the room and kind of help adjudicate them, because sometimes people get stuck, they're not sure, they're like, I feel like this is passing, but there's some flaws here. And then we usually debrief for about half an hour afterwards about like, all right, what did we learn from this? What are students taking away? So I think it's one of the hard things is, feedback when you're teaching a class. You don't always know. I mean, kids aren't going to, well, some might, but they don't always tell you, it's like, that's not going well. I'm really not learning very much. So it's nice to know like certain assignments, certain assessments kind of keep coming up. And like, all right, that must be pretty impactful. So that's kind of cool too.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Evan.
All right, thank you.
All right, next up, the senior internship presentation.
Lower the mic.
Well, so welcome to Kelly, who joined us this year. Came right in with the treadmill already running, jumped on, caught up to speed, and carried us forward from there.
Yes.
Doing a wonderful job. So this is a very exciting day today.
Yes.
For all of our seniors, and I'm sure you're going to tell us why.
Yes, yeah. So thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be able to give you an overview of our senior internship program. As you'll hear, and hopefully you see, that it just brings so much value to not only our students, but all of the community organizations and companies that host our students. So just to give a little bit of a background, it started 13 years ago. It started with just a few students and has since most of basically all of our seniors are doing the program, so it's really built in now to the curriculum. So seniors are doing this the last 4 to 5 weeks of their of the academic school year. This year it's a little bit shorter because AP exams were a little bit later, which is decided by the College Board, so out of our control. Students do their internships for 25 hours a week and typically 5 hours a day. So the program objectives, so through these internships, students are going to be learning new skills, discovering new interests, exploring a new world. They may be exposed to new careers and new fields that they never have been before, and hopefully are having some aha moments. They are beginning to build a professional network. That's something that we've discussed in our training, different ways that they can use these internships to really begin to build a network. They're obviously gaining experience, learning about new careers. This helps build a strong resume. They're also building confidence. For many of our students, this is the first time that they've been in a professional work setting. In a previous survey that was taken in 2019, 85% of our seniors had never had a job before their internship. So I think this is a really great way to kind of give them that exposure. And also it really gives them a competitive edge, especially when they're applying for in the future when they go to college and hopefully are applying for future internships. They can speak to the internship, that they've already done. So the senior internship program overview, I'm just going to kind of walk you through our program from beginning to end. So all seniors interested in participating in the senior internship program fill out an application. The applications come out mid-November and go through the beginning of January. Applications consist of your basic student information. They all are required to do an essay talking about what they hope to get out of the internship, why they want to do the internship, and then we have them do an interest assessment. In addition, students are reviewing all of the internships that we have available for them in our database. So this year we had just over 300 sites that students could choose from. And so they select the ones that they're interested in, and they also rank them. And we also allow students to do a self-design internship. So this means that students have gone out and selected their own internship. They must be approved by myself in our committee. And so when they present it to us, we also vet them to make sure that it is a legitimate company and organization. And after that, then our next step would be the interview process. So these are these mini interviews, and we kind of go over what they wrote in their personal statements about why they want to do their internship, what they want to get out of it. Also, we ask them just some general interview questions, such as, tell us about a time that was challenging and how you overcame that. What are you most proud of? We really set these up to be professional, and we ask the students to take them serious, because for many of our students, this might be the first time that they've ever interviewed. And for those that have interviewed, it can be a nerve-wracking and, a experience. So we want to be able to kind of give them this in a safe space to be able to really practice that as well. Placements are next, and those begin in February. So we take into consideration many factors. We look at how many students have applied for them. So of course, if it's one student that's selected it, then they'll get the internship. But there are some sites that are very popular, and so we might have 30 plus students interested. So for those, we take into consideration their application, their interview, grades, what they want to get out of it. We really do our best to get the student within their top 5 choices. And most of the time, I think this year they're all happy. I'll go over those stats in a minute of how many we place in their top 5. So then in April, the student connects with their site supervisor, so they can learn more about the role and the expectations, solidify their hours, dress attire, discuss parking, and really just kind of begin to build a network and to get to know them, so that build a relationship, so that when they start their internships, they're ready to go and they feel comfortable. In addition, we do 2 trainings. So we did one in March, and students learned about personal branding, how to craft a standout resume, and also workplace etiquette. Just today, we had our final training, and the students were great. I was so impressed at this time of the year how very attentive they were, which was great. And we discussed the benefits of networking, how to build a network using LinkedIn, and kind of how to start the process of a LinkedIn account. We also discussed their expectations of their internship, reminding them that they are not only representing themselves, but they're representing New Canaan Public Schools, and also really how to make the most of their internships. And we had our very own Darlene presented on workplace harassment today. So I think, the training is something that makes our program very strong. The students go off to their internships feeling prepared. And I think the employers really love hosting our students because they showed up prepared. So we will definitely continue on with our trainings. Mentor placement, students are all gifted, and I say gifted because it is a gift that they all get a mentor. And this is really in an effort to support them throughout their internship experience, make the most of their internship experience, connect the dots, problem solve. We have 70 mentors this year, which consist of faculty, staff, and our senior internship committee members. And during the internships, they connect with their students, so they'll do weekly check-ins. They also do a site visit to kind of see how it's going and check to see if they are reaching their goals, which moves us right into goal setting. So on the first day of the internship tomorrow, students they've received, and their site supervisor has received, these goal-setting worksheets. And they'll work collaboratively with their site supervisor to come up with at least 3 concrete goals and outline how they will accomplish those goals. So it's really a great way for the student to have clear direction, and it allows the site supervisor and the mentors to kind of check in on their progress, and also for the student to walk away feeling like, hey, I accomplished something, and some concrete things that they can add to their resume and talk about in their future interviews. Internships begin. So tomorrow, internships begin. All of the preparation and training will go into place. They're going to be great. And while they're in their internship, they are doing reflection journals. So each week they will get a journal and a few journal questions. They are submitted and reviewed by their mentors who provide them with feedback. They also complete a time log, which their supervisors verify that they have completed those hours, so they get the credit for it. And then the internships end. And on their last day of the internship, we host a celebration to really acknowledge the hard work that they've done. For them, they've been away from their classmates for 3 weeks, so they get to come back and see each other and kind of hear from one another what they've been up to, what have they been doing, and really just to celebrate their accomplishments. And new this year, we are going to have the reception on the last day of their internship. All right, so some data. 98% of seniors are participating this year, 72% selected from our database of internships, 28% did a self-design, 86% of students were placed within their top 5 sites they selected, 62% of internships are located in New Canaan. 1/3 of internship sites are hosted by an alumni, or current parent. And 58 new internship sites were added this year. Just a few sites that I wanted to highlight that were added this year. Dr. Schuster, who is a renowned cardiologist out of Stanford Hospital, is taking our students, and the students in this internship will be meeting with patients. They'll be observing surgeries. He was so impressed with our students that he's actually taking 5 of our students, which we're very thankful and grateful for. Lesser Evil is located in Danbury, and it's one of the largest producers of organic snacks in the U.S., and we have 2 interns there, one in finance and one in marketing. I don't know if anyone has had their products, but they are very yummy. And so this is very exciting for us. It's new this year, and the CEO is a New Canaan father, which is really amazing. And lastly, ACP Capital Markets joined us this year. The intern in this internship will be conducting basic financial analysis and accounting, financial modeling, and industry and company research. So these experiences that the students get, in a high school level, are truly remarkable. Okay, so here are the top 5 fields that our students will be interning this year. The first is education and training. Business, marketing, and sales, there were a tie for 4th with health sciences and marketing and social media, and a tie for 5th with sports management and audio, video technology, and film. So there were 33 different fields that students are interning this year, and so you can kind of see the breakdown of the fields and where they're going. So while we begin internships tomorrow, I'm already planning for next year. So I myself have some interns, and this year my interns work on 2 videos for me. But one video that they're going to be working on is this promotional video where they are going to be interviewing site supervisors and also students to really highlight the benefits of the program and what their experience has been. I think this will be a great marketing tool to use for new sites to promote and to hopefully get more interest, and also for underclassmen and their families to kind of learn more about what this program is and what it has to offer. So as I begin to recruit companies for next year, I'm focusing on the following areas, which are finance, law, healthcare sciences, and computer sciences. These are really areas that our students are expressing a strong interest in. And finally, we are in the process of transitioning to a new software management platform that will best support our program. There's a lot of information and data collection, and we really need a platform that can provide us with the functionality so we can really run this program efficiently. So we hope to begin this transition in June. Our students' internship journey will be featured on our New Canaan Public Schools social media, so be sure to follow along. It will also be, my interns are doing a video montage and a slideshow, so that will be on the website. And I feel like there was something else, but probably not. Follow along on social media. And I just want to give a special thank you to the New Canaan High School administration, who's been so supportive, Sue Carroll, who has been such a wonderful mentor, has caught me up to speed. I've been here now, I think, 5 months, and she really has just helped me so much. The senior internship committee, our mentors, and all of our internship sites who are giving their time and expertise to really give our students such a rich hands-on experience. So, thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you. Questions?
Yes.
Yes.
I was just curious, are our kids competing with other kids to get some of these intern spots?
In terms of at our own school?
In terms of what?
Or you're saying competing like at New Canaan High School?
Oh, no, meaning for the spots that are not within the New Canaan education system, whether it's, for Dr. Schuster, was it, down in
Schuster.
Stanford? I mean, are Darien kids and other
Oh,
some other
yes,
towns?
yes. So, yes and no. No, so they're not competing. Sites that sign up with us, they are saying we will take 1 to 2 to 3 kids. So no, they're not. Dr. Schuster, this is the first year that he signed up with us, and he has taken Darien students, and he is taking Darien students, but he's also taking our students as well. Yeah.
Do students request their top sites or their field?
You're saying, do they request sites that like they want to major in, or you're saying, are they allowed to select the
Are they
sites?
allowed to say, in, I don't know, pick one, marketing and social media? Do they just say that's what they want, or do they actually pick?
They can actually pick the site, yeah. And so how it's organized right now is it's under categories, and so they can go through the category, click on the site, read about the job description, see the responsibilities, and then they would select. We have them select their top 15 sites just to be safe, because there are some really popular sites, but like I said, 86% of students receive their top 5 choices.
What are some of the more popular sites?
So finance is that was probably our number 1 this year that we didn't have. We probably had like 6 finance sites, and it seemed like everyone wanted, a majority of our students were really interested in the finance. Also, computer science is a little lacking, so that's an area that we would like to have more sites that students really expressed an interest in.
What is self-designed?
Yes, so self-design internships are when students go out and select their own internships. It has to be approved by us, and we, reach out to the site and vet them to make sure that it is a legitimate company.
Okay. And the 2% of seniors that don't participate, what do they do?
Yeah, so some students don't participate because they're academic, they're not eligible, so they might be just in class. And other students choose not to participate for personal reasons, but if they're not participating, then they're in class.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
Erica.
On the self-designed,
Yes.
is there the potential that some of those self-designed can be converted into positions for future years?
Yes, yes. So after they're done with the self-design, so for next year, then I reach out and say, hey, can we add you to our database? Yeah.
Great.
Yep.
And can you talk a little bit about the committee that you mentioned you work
Yeah.
with and how they support you? in
Sure,
the
yeah.
process?
So the committee is made up of, I think there's 10 of us, and so it's made up of parents. We have an employer, some faculty, Sue Carroll, who's the college and career, a school counselor, so it's pretty diverse. And so they are helping me give feedback, suggestions, helping me recruit for sites. We had a training today, so they were there to support that. those type of things. Yeah.
Great.
Does that answer?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's great.
Okay.
And then I was also interested, I know it's a very like challenging time of year in terms of there's a lot of things going on, but do you have an opportunity to get sort of exit data from our students? And did you have that for last year?
Yeah.
And like what do the students say about how to continue to improve the program?
Sure, yes. So I will be sending out a survey to students, and it's mandatory because I put it in as one of their journal questions for their last journal. And so I'll get feedback from them. I also have a survey for the site supervisors, and I also do a survey for the mentors. It's really important to continue to grow this program and kind of work out what are the issues, what do we need to change. So I think that's really important. One of the pieces, so it helped me a little from the data from last year, kind of frame my training for today when I was talking to students about what's expected of them. And I asked them, what do you think the number one concern that site supervisors said was last year? And so they're like, cell phones. I'm like, yes. And so, we talked about in that training, like, if you're on your cell phone, what is that showing your site supervisor? That you're not interested, you're disengaged, right? And so if you're on your phone, what are reasons why you might be on your phone? Oh, because you're done with your work, right? And so that kind of led into a discussion about taking initiative. Because what I read from surveys from last year is we would love to see students take more initiative, right? So we had the discussion of what's a simple way that you could take initiative? So the survey and that is very important, and yes, we do that. And one thing that I found interesting in the survey from last year, and I should have included that in here, is that 95% of seniors felt that their internships were meaningful, which I think is very impactful. But yes, I will have data, and it's just I couldn't share it because I'm presenting before they go out to internships, but I can certainly, Brian, share that with you, yeah.
And so it sounds like similarly you do exit surveys with the hosts. And so
Yes.
cell phones, taking initiative. Are there other things that you hear? Are the hosts that we have, do they tend to continue year to
Yeah,
year? And if
yeah.
they do drop off, do you know why they've dropped off?
Okay, so I did start 5 months ago,
Yes,
but
Understandable.
I did do my research, and I read surveys from last year. I will say, there really isn't a ton of negative stuff. We are so fortunate that our students are, very appreciative, and I think from what I have heard is that people might drop off because for example, they're a one-person show and they just can't manage to take on, or it's their busiest season and they realize with 4 weeks, by the time I train, then they're gone. So. Yeah, I don't know. Ari, maybe you can say, is there anything more to why? I really do think sites pretty much continue on. Would you?
Yeah, I have the pleasure of just watching Kelly run all over the place and take everything in. As you've seen, there's a fairly robust set of expectations for the students. And even in terms of the self-designs, there really has to be something there that's meaningful work. And so I think sometimes there are sites that realize they don't have enough to really give. Schools around the area just send kids out and go find something. This really is, as you've heard, a pretty demanding program. And it's demanding on the hosts as well. And so sometimes they realize they just don't have the work to do it. Sometimes sites are combined. But more often than not, it's because they can't really meet our standard of participation.
Great. My only other thing is a comment, which is as you look to next year and ways that you want to grow the hosts, if there's ways that we can be helpful, that would be great because we want to continue to have this program meet the needs of each student. So.
Thank you so much. I will be reaching out and sharing my information as the beginning of the school year approaches. So thank you very much. I appreciate that support.
This is a fantastic program, so congrats and for all the work that goes into it.
Thank you.
When you say meaningful work, that the hosts have to provide meaningful work. I know you mentioned watching surgeries and financial analysis. Is that, like, with 3 weeks of training, are they able to really immerse themselves in that type of rigor?
I mean, it's kind of the experience that the student and the site supervisor make. But yeah, and I think every experience is going to be a little bit different. Like for some students, I was talking to them about today, there's going to be aspects of the internship that might not be exciting and you just really don't enjoy. But that is such a wonderful opportunity for you to begin to realize, like, what don't I like about this aspect? Okay, maybe I thought I would like that. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this sort of thing moving forward. So yes, it's really just to give them, kind of to dip their toes in and get them just excited and engaged in a site and an opportunity, and to hopefully really encourage their excitement to continue to have different experiences, even if they're these small experiences throughout their time in college, because as we know, it's hard. I mean, how do you know what you want to do unless you have experiences, right? Unless you're talking to people. And I share with the students, it doesn't have to be this big, even if you made one professional connection from this, right? Or even if you learned something that you really just do not want to do again. Like that, to me, I feel like is meaningful. And, you know, if they can take away one thing from it, I think that's good. And just to get them excited and understand what the internship process entails and what it consists of.
Absolutely. And in terms of the self-directed, are those what I'd call like typical jobs, right? Like what you might find on the board anyway, and they just go and find a different supplier host, or are they more unique? And if they are more unique, what are some examples?
Yeah, so it seems like it's more because they have a connection
Okay.
to the site. It doesn't, my experience this year doesn't seem like, oh, you don't have that sort of thing, so I'm going to go out and find it. It seems like maybe they've kind of already thought about it in the beginning of the school year, and maybe there's a connection there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I find that stat that 85% of our kids don't have jobs. I found that interesting.
So
Is
that was from
common?
2019
Okay.
that I found that, and it wasn't taken last year, so I have that in my survey for this year. So I'd be happy to share that.
Yeah,
with
I'm
you.
curious.
Yeah.
What's that? I know. Cool. That was great. Thank you so
All right.
much.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Okay, moving on to some action items. We've already approved the donation for South School. We had the policy updates that we had the first reading last week. And today we're going to move to approve the revisions to Board of Education Policy 5163, the SRO, School Resource Officer, for a second reading. But before we do that, is there, we're going to have a discussion about it. Any questions, thoughts? About the policy as it's written?
I guess I would just briefly remind the board, I know we talked about it 2 weeks ago, that both of these policies really serve as a place where we can then add the regulation, one being the MOU with the NCPD around the SROs at our elementary schools. And we'll also be adjusting the one for the high school based on recent legislation. And the other is with the state mandated increasing educator diversity plan that's required and that we've been iteratively creating with a committee and preparing to send up to the state for their review and feedback and whatever. So both of these serve to as a place where then those two regulations will be housed for folks.
Mine's really just a comment on the SRO policy, and I think it's great, first of all, but I do think the MOU piece of it is important, and we've talked about that in past years, just making sure that if some sort of law enforcement action is required or implicated in what goes on in our schools, that we have an understanding with the police as to how to deal with it, and
That's right.
it isn't just immediately escalated.
Yes, and the policy speaks to that a little bit, and the MOU that exists today for the middle school, high school does speak to that. And we have to revise it a bit, given the legislation, but absolutely, we'll make sure that. And again, both of those documents will go before the board for your knowledge, necessarily. We don't vote on regulations, really, but it'll just be, the board will be informed and opportunity for feedback around those.
Great, thanks.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the revision to policy 5163, school resource officer, for second reading? Brendan, second Wex, all in favor? It's unanimous. And then next, moving, can I get a motion to approve the new Board of Education policy 4111.3, increasing educator diversity plan, also for a second reading? Can I get a motion for that, please? No? We did. The last one,
Yeah,
right?
it was actually
So we're just voting?
yeah, it's as moved as first, let me just get the right names. I apologize for it should say as first moved and seconded by Ms. Russian and Mr. Campbell.
Got it. All
So
right.
it's because we make the motion, we have a first and second, but we don't vote on it, and then we vote on it for the second reading.
So now we're voting
The
on it.
language is off on the agenda, my apologies.
No, no worries. So all in favor? It's also unanimous. Great, thank you. Any comments from the public? Seeing that there are none. Announcements and future business, please.
Sure, so, in 2 weeks, we have our retiree celebration meeting, where we'll have an opportunity to thank those educators that are retiring from the district. We have also a non-educator, Janet Reed, who is retiring from the district, our Director of Nursing Services, so we'll have an opportunity as well to say thanks to her. It's always a very nice night, and we'll actually start the night a little bit earlier, around 6:30, with some ice cream, because often they'll come with family and others, and board members are welcome to come early if you can and join us for that prior to the meeting starting at 7 o'clock. But before our next meeting, we also have the Memorial Day Parade, which will be on Monday, so a week from today, 9 o'clock. We'll be meeting at the church. If you're able to come and haven't let us know yet, please let me know. And the only reason I ask for that is so I know who to look for, because we never quite know where we're going to be in the lineup, and I want to make sure that we can all gather together. If you don't let us know, but you can come, definitely do, and find the Board of Education banner. It's a nice large banner, although I did hear this year the town council finally broke down. They're going to be getting their own banner. So just, make sure you're behind the Board of Education banner. But it will be very nice, and I'm glad that whoever can join us from the board, certainly glad to have you. And if your own children would like to join you and march with you as well, certainly feel free to bring them along. So we're looking forward to that. 9 o'clock on Monday morning.
9 o'clock, awesome, I'll be there. Great, thank you. So I get a motion to adjourn. Erica, second. Brendan, all in favor? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you. Have a good night.